OK, here's the question for you.
Oh, I hate this.
Right, do you read true crime?
Yes, love it.
Would you read true crime at bedtime?
Yes, love it.
OK, but would you read true crime at bedtime to your 8-year-old?
No.
No. Oh,
That's just wrong on every level.
So you love it, not to the 8-year-old?
No, absolutely not.
Well, this is what one writer has confessed to doing for her child in the hope it will teach them to understand the world. It's simply you think it's a step too far. We don't need to be reading.
We don't need an 8-year-old to understand how evil sometimes the world is. Let's let them enjoy being 8.
Yeah.
You know, they don't need to know about mass murderers and child paedophiles and 8 years old.
You see, I completely agree with you. However, I am reading our classic fairy tales to my 4-year-old, and they're awful.
But the clue is in the word fairy tale.
Yeah.
It's not real.
No, I know, but my 4-year-old has an imagination where she thinks she is Rapunzel, who is stolen from her parents, stuck up at the top of a tower. Another woman comes in and pretends to be her mother. She's forced to drop her hair out for this woman to climb up, and she'll only be saved by a handsome prince.
That's
I mean,
good.
that's a nightmare. That's true crime in itself.
It's not true, Christine. I just need to tell you that. It's not true.
No one can grow their hair that long.
Not really.
You're not buying into the message.
No,
you know, I'm just saying.
I'm with you, Christine.
There are elements. It's not pleasant to fairy tale.
There are some fairy stories that I don't actually read to my children, just because I don't want them to feel like they need a prince to rescue them out of every situation in life. Yeah, well, I just don't want I don't want, especially not my girl child, to feel like that she needs to be like that. So we do have specific books for bedtime. She loves a good read, and we've got this really good book that kind of it's age appropriate, and each story tells a story about from a woman in history, and not necessarily ones that we all are familiar with, and it gives them a story about what they did, what they were like at school, and what they managed to achieve. And she loves that, and she kind of flicks through it, and she kind of chooses the story she wants to hear about, and she goes to bed empowered, feeling like what she could possibly
would you
do.
read her true crime?
No, I most definitely wouldn't, because, I mean, in Liverpool, we've had the horrendous story of Olivia Pratt happening in where we live in Liverpool, and that has really had a long-term effect on her and her sleep pattern, what she thinks about when she's walking down the street. You know, for Olivia, that happened within her own home. And I think that's what's crossed the line for my daughter, is that she just feels like, am I safe at home? She's always like, have you locked the door? Is the gate shut? You know, all of those little things that she thinks about before bedtime. And so would I read her then true crime, more of the stuff that has actually happened? This isn't a fairy story. This is actually what has happened.
Or watch it on telly.
In history. Or watch it on television, when I can't say, no, it's not real, it didn't really happen, this actually did happen. There is some human being that lives on our planet that is capable of these things. Do I want to enforce that? No.
No.
At what age do you start alerting your children to the real world? At what point then do you think, well, maybe they do need to be aware of these things
I think when
happening?
they start going out on their own. I mean, and again, it's all about degrees of... You don't need to sort of say, oh, there could be a serial killer at the end of the road. You sort of start with traffic, you start, we talk about stranger danger, don't we?
Exactly.
And stuff like that. So I think there's, age-appropriate things. But, there's enough anxiety around without enhancing it by because still statistically, all of these things, these true crime stories, are very, very small instances in wider society, thankfully.
So why is it that there is a passion for it? The minute my sister is absolutely obsessed. She's listened to every podcast, loves watching it. You are as well. What is it then? Because we're just saying that we're surrounded by such negativity and awful stuff all of the time. Why do we want more in our lives?
I don't know what it is, actually. I think it's because it's still something that I can't comprehend, of that way of thinking, and also I find it fascinating how, especially like things like cold case and things like that, I find it fascinating at how clever they are at forensics and finding people out. It's absolutely fascinating how they do it. And so it kind of fascinates me a bit, but I definitely wouldn't do it with children. I wouldn't even let my children watch the news. Yeah. I mean, I would now, because my eldest is 34 and can do what they want. But when they were little, and I don't watch the news because it's depressing, you know. But yeah, I think it's just almost like a fascination of a world you have hopefully no idea about.
Yeah, I think everybody likes to put themselves in the position of being the detective.
Yeah, I feel like I could solve a major crime.
And also I think a lot of people, because you say the world is gloom and doom, I think it gives a good perspective to people.
Yeah.
I think sometimes if you're having a bit of a bad day, you watch something true crime and you think, well, my day's not that bad.
Not as bad as my life's not that bad,
A very weird form of escapism.
But I think I could probably bump you all off and get away with it now. I know.
You'd have to catch me first.
I'm gonna move my
I'm not running.
over, Carl.
Still took up security.